plan is out.
Chad really hooked into this idea of trying to study John Wick through the situations of other characters, and he was really drawn to the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so enter Donnie Yen as Kane, and Shamir Anderson as the tracker. We have Hiroyuki Sanada, who I worked with on 47th Ronin. He has a daughter who's working with him, and that's the incomparable Rina Sawayama. And then the antagonist of the piece, the Marquis, Bill Skarsgård. You're kind of following their stories as they're trying to get John Wick, and Kane and John Wick have a past. The tracker is kind of a younger character who's kind of outside of it, who's not an assassin, but then takes a deal to force to become an assassin, and these characters come after John, and then there's moments where we have to work together against the table. So that dynamic is a way of opening up the world. Who are these other characters that exist in this world? And then how do they interact with John, and how does John interact with them? As soon as Derek Kolstad had these assassins come into this house to attack John Wick, and once John Wick took care of business, brought these gold coins, and said, I'd like to make a reservation. It was like, whoa, okay, well, what can that turn into? What is this other world? At the base of that, too, is Chad's belief that the more kind of ceremony that we can present with the high table is good to elevate them, because we don't want to show the faces, we don't want to do here's a table and there's 12 of them and they're all sitting no, you don't see them. You never see them. But I think we can all relate to the idea of them. And so it's been cool to tap into that personally and then to put it into the art and then have that as this kind of overarching thing. And then have a character seeking a kind of liberation from that.
I applaud him for being able to continue to work in the action genre as hard as he does. Keanu's physicality in these movies is staggering. The amount of stamina that is required, the amount of just sheer kind of energy to do even half of what he's required to do has got to be punishing. He said something really, really kind of telling to me, which he said, I haven't spoken in 15 weeks. I thought, he's after an Eastwood kind of vibe,
The training went longer than 3 months, and it was 5 days a week, 4 hours a day. So it was a 2-hour morning session, lunch, 2-hour afternoon session. And for me, it's just been awesome to work with these stunt people and just have what they shared with us was the affection that they have for the John Wick films. Because John Wick action is a little different. It's a lot. Because Chad wants reality, he wants Rex, he wants it to feel real, he wants the beautiful violence. And so do we, and so do they. But all of these people have just really taken care of me.
I have never met anybody in the film industry, even with my 40 years of working with so many Chinese directors, action directors, that I can truly say that someone like Chad can understand what I'm trying to express. It's that whole Asian culture and Western culture, even when I'm back home, when I'm with my most comfortable environment with my colleagues, Asian filmmakers, they don't understand me as much as Chad does. And that's a compliment to him. And I told him that, throughout our dinners, I said, it's very interesting that you understand where I'm coming from. And I understand where he's coming from. Seldom you find that kind of connection.
When I watched 3, I was amazed by the action sequence in Casablanca because it involved dogs, and I have a dog, and she would never listen to me. She hardly sits for me, so I can't imagine how they managed to do that. I'm just impressed by how the action is captured more than anything else, I think, and just the flow of the camera movements going alongside, and it all feels very natural. You feel really part of the action. It's not relying on camera shake and too much. It's really relying on the performance of the actors, so that always struck me.
There's a whole prep for every fight scene. In this case, for example, that I'm a martial artist and I have experience in action, then they let me, oh, Marco, what you could do here, try. For example, Jeremy, that is his fight coordinator, he knows me already, so he knows kind of what I like, my styles, what I can do, what I can't do. So then he asked me, hey, what about this? What about that? And there's like a common like co-creation of, because of the character that I'm playing, maybe, this technique is not gonna fit that character as good as maybe this other technique. So then there's a little flexibility on how to put the fights in at the end for each role, each character.
When I saw the first movie, which I wasn't in, I enjoyed it so much. I immediately reached out to Keanu. I was like, dude, all of our friends, all the guys that worked on the Matrix pictures, everybody's in the movie. You gotta hook me up. He was like, we've been thinking about you. And so, to get to play a character who is this regal sort of monarch, but his kingdom is sort of underneath all of this sort of highly stylized, elegant sort of chic that's happening, is really it's a nice kind of juxtaposition. So I'm having fun, man. I'm just happy to be here.
The incredible Lawrence Fishburne as the Bowery King, where I had safe harbor. And for me personally, Fish is safe harbor. He's been such a mentor to me since working on The Matrix in 1997. So it's, we have a friendship, and it's cool to be working with him again. And what he brings to the Bowery King is so special. And who else could be the king?
The way I process the style of the fightings in all my movies, I identify this personality first. It's not about the style. People always ask me, what martial arts style you want this? But to me, it doesn't matter, right? To me, it's how this person reacts, how this character reacts. Is it a little bit jumpy? Is it a little bit calm? Is it a little bit for example, this guy, he's family man, introvert, calm, walk slow, talk slow. Therefore, his movements is very reserved. He only reacts to an outside force. So it's always the character. Once I identify the character, it comes natural for me to have these body movements. If I wanted to use an example to explain to people who's fascinated my films, and I use music, like jazz. How do I explain to you why am I playing this note, this passage? Because it's my feeling.
Chad was always a solid guy. When I first met him at the age of 25, he was a solid cat. He was a hard worker. He was a good listener, he was a team player, and he was a leader. And he's just grown in all of those capacities. His delight in making movies as a director is the thing that I appreciate the most, and it's where we sort of meet.
He's extraordinary in the sense of how he's grown, how he matriculates all of his inspirations and his knowledge and his practicality. So to me, he's the director. He's also got a great hand and ear for script and for production. He knows how movies get made. And here, being on Chapter 4, I say these John Wick films for Chad and I are like we prepare a meal. We're the chefs, and he's the head chef. I'm a sous chef. And then we find the ingredients, we're putting it together. And that partnership has been really fun and some of the best creative days for me.
But, he's a hard worker. So really matching for the John Wick character. John Wick has a depth. So that's why it's so believable. And then people want to support him.
We've had such a good time this time. He's got some great stories. He told some great stories the other night. And yeah, man, he's such an amazing actor. He's just so solid. And to play with somebody like that is, it's always easy, man. It's great.
If you enjoy the world building of the John Wicks, then we have a lot of fun stuff in store. We have new characters, new levels of action for John Wick action, the production design, the scale, the scope, a lot of big rooms, high ceilings. We're in Berlin, we're in Paris. We have amazing thespians in costume design. There's other themes that are coming back from all the different versions of all the films. So there's stuff that you can recognize, and then there's new things. We're trying to cook up a beautiful feast with multiple courses and some nice wine. So sit back, see it on the big screen, eat some popcorn, and John Wick. John John Wick action asks just a little bit more. And you see the effort and the commitment from the team. Ian McShane is back with Lawrence Fishburne and Lance Reddick. And then we have Donnie Yen, Bill Skarsgård, Hiroyuki Sanada, Clancy Brown, Shamir Anderson, and the incredible Natalia Tena, Scott Adkins.
Fighting Keanu Reeves.
It's hard work, man. And also we have Rina Sawayama.
They make it look easy, but it's not.
We're smashing people, hitting people. It's just amazing.
We've shot some stuff that pushes John Wick to the limit.
Have we gone too far?
别忘了订阅我们的频道，打开小铃铛就不会错过任何精彩内容，随时上架。我们下回再见。